Welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel. In this video, I am giving you guys a rundown of some of my favorite British TV shows that are available on streaming services. I absolutely love and adore British television. I just think that British actors have a capacity for performances that I'm not going to say American actors don't have, but it's like, even if it's a procedural, which many of these are, I'm gonna be honest with you, police procedurals, the actors all approach it with this level. It's like they're doing Shakespearean theater. I just really enjoy a good British show. The reason that I wanted to give a rundown of some of my favorites is because there was all this buzz going around about Behind Her Eyes, which is a British show that's on Netflix, and it's about like astral projection, and ultimately it was a cautionary tale about minding your damn business, but people were so into it, and I was like, people would probably really enjoy a lot of my other favorite British shows, so I'm sharing some with you guys here today. Everything that I'm sharing with you, I think as of a few days ago when I updated these notes, everything was still available on the streaming services that I'm going to mention. So let's go on through them. So first, there's Killing Eve. Killing Eve has 3 seasons. I will say season 1 is my absolute favorite because it was written by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who is just a phenomenal writer, actress. We'll get to her at a later time. It's on Hulu. It stars Sandra Oh, who we know from Grey's Anatomy, and Jodie Comer, whose face I enjoy looking at. So you come for the psychological thriller, but you stay for Villanelle, who is the psychopath. You stay for her fashions, and you kind of find yourself really liking her. The interesting thing about these shows is that as far as the police procedurals, there's this strange relationship, this strange, almost kind of symbiotic relationship between the serial killer and the person who's tracking them. That gets really explored with Killing Eve because Villanelle is a serial killer who Eve is tracking, and they mutually become obsessed with each other in this very different way. And they do this great job of exploring people who are really into those kinds of crimes. Do they actually have the desire to commit those crimes? So I absolutely adore this show. Again, Villanelle's style is something to behold. There's something really good about how bad she is. I feel like she's the embodiment of female carnal desires. There's one scene in particular that I think about all the time where she's in Italy and she just like crushes a tomato on this little like crostini, and like she's just in a field and she just eats it and just like wipes her hands wherever. There was something really cool about it. Yes, she's a psychopathic murderer, but you cannot help but kind of sort of like her. So that's one of my favorites. Luther stars Idris Elba. Let's stop there. That's enough. Just go watch it. Watch it in the daytime. Watch it with all your lights on. Make sure your door is locked. It is a dark police procedural. He plays this troubled detective who is really good at tracking down, he works for the serious crime unit. I thought that was a joke. I think that might really be what it's called. But he's very devoted to his job and he's really good at it. And because of that, of course, as per usual, his personal life suffers, his marriage suffers. And the main villain or the main murderer that he's after, he develops this kind of interesting relationship with her where you're he's one of those characters where you get to a certain point where you're like, I don't know if I should still be rooting for you. And I actually enjoy that conflict because in real life, people are not good or bad. It's not this black or white binary thing. People are on a spectrum depending on the situations, and this show does a really good job of messing with you in that regard. I do want to say don't get attached to any of these characters because they are damn near like Game of Thrones with the way they be killing people off. And there are several Game of Thrones characters on this show. Look out for them. thought that Luther was on Netflix, but I think it's transitioned over to Hulu. Again, it's 5 seasons. What you also have to know about British shows is that they are very short. They don't call them seasons, they call them series. And a season might be like 5 episodes, but they're gonna be real good. It's worth it. Again, Luther is very dark. I am warning you. If you live alone, child, be prepared, okay? It's not something you want to watch alone at night. Unless you're that kind of person. If you brave like that, go for it. I am not. Marcella is one of, y'all know I love TV. If you're new here, I love TV, obviously. Marcella is one of my favorite all-time top 5 maybe shows. This show is so well done. Again, it is dark as shit. But Marcella is a detective who, I have never hated fictional kids more than I hated hers. She experiences a tragedy in her family that ends up creating a division within her family, but also within herself. I will not spoil it for you, but she has these disassociative episodes where she blacks out. She doesn't know what's going on. Her husband, actually, if you are new here, I have notes so that I can remember everything. That's why I keep looking down. Obviously, her husband is played by Nicholas Pinnock, who you guys may know from For Life, the show For Life. He's a horrible person. Again, never in my life have I been more excited for somebody to get the hell on than, I don't want to ruin it for y'all. But each season, well, the first 2 seasons, she's going after one, case, like one major, like killer or whatever, and twists, turns. God, the show is so good. I think I might want to rewatch it. I'm not sure, but the 3rd season, her style, chef's kiss. Absolutely love it. I think you guys will really enjoy Marcella. Her performance is so strong in this show. And again, it's one of those situations where I'm like, should I feel sorry for you or should I not? Because I think you might be crossing over into a real bad place that I don't know if I want to go along with you. Damn, it's good though. Yeah, I still hate them kids, y'all. I can't. Oh, child, wait till you see it. Sherlock. Sherlock. There have been a lot of iterations of the Sherlock story. There's, the movies with Robert Downey Jr. and is it Jude Law? I think it is Jude Law. God, I love looking at that man's face. This show is so damn good. Now, I am going to tell you, I enjoy a good British accent. These were real hard to understand at first. I did have to watch maybe the first 3 episodes with the subtitles on because I was like, what the hell did he just say? So Sherlock, 4 seasons. It's on Netflix. It stars 2 Marvel Cinematic Universe people. I love Marvel. I love superhero shit, period, but who don't love Marvel? So you have Benedict Cumberbatch and also Martin Freeman. Martin Freeman is the only, one of 2, 3 white men from Black Panther. He's just, you just want to put him in your purse. And he plays Watson and he plays it so well. If you are familiar with the mythology of Sherlock, he's this very almost, they play around a lot on what his diagnosis is. Is he a psychopath? Is he autistic? Is he this? Is he that? And it's very hard to even zoom in on a label or, which I think might be a good thing. Maybe we shouldn't box people in that way, but we all know he's the, world's best detective and he's very egotistical and just, he's a hot ass mess, but they do such a good job of endearing him to you. It's a very modern take on things. It's not a period piece, which I love a period piece, but, obviously Watson and Sherlock have this codependent relationship and hijinks ensue. The last season, child, it took me there. Emotions, my feelings. I think you guys will, I know for sure you guys will really enjoy it. A bonus is that Andrew Scott, who played the hot priest on Fleabag, which we'll get to later, plays a villain on this show, and he plays it so well. And I was so happy to see him be a lovable character on Fleabag, because I was like, I enjoy looking at his face too much to hate him as a villain. So I was like, oh, I'm so glad that he's like a person I can root for on Fleabag. Definitely check out Sherlock. I'm telling you, it's gonna be hard to understand the first couple of episodes. And I have been into British TV for a while, like British movies for a while. Had no idea what they were saying for the first couple of episodes. Struggle. Next is London Spy. There's only one season of London Spy. It's on Netflix. It stars Ben Whishaw and Edward Hallcroft and Jim Broadbent. I might be butchering those names because of my American accent. Bear with me. It's only one season of this show. I wish there was another one, because it left on a hopeful cliffhanger, but I just need to know what happens next. So you basically have this kind of like club kid is what they call him, Danny. He's this young gay guy who, you know, he's a bit wayward in life, and he has this meet cute. Like, it's a very British meet cute, where he meets this guy who's a banker, who's a very straight-laced banker. They're very, very different people. And they start this romance that you can't help but kind of smile through it. It's cute, but it's also like there's something off about this guy, this banker, Alex. And Danny has a mentor, Scotty, who is an older gay man, and he's like, be careful of this guy, you know, like, be careful. Danny ends up he stops hearing from Alex out of nowhere, and ends up finding his body decomposing in a box. And he's determined to find out what happened to this man who he had fallen in love with. And he ends up down this rabbit hole of like spies and conspiracy theories and all kinds of stuff. It's really, really good, really heartbreaking. But also there are these very like sweet moments to it. But again, these shows don't care nothing about killing off people that you like. Brace yourself. It's not as dark as some of my other recommendations. You will enjoy it. And like, let's start a petition for season 2, chair. So Collateral, the next show, there's one season on Netflix. It stars Carey Mulligan. She starts off investigating the murder of a pizza delivery guy. And this show kind of gives you a bit of the same vibe as the show Crash. I mean, the movie Crash, where all these people's lives intersect at these different identities of like race, socioeconomic status. There's like, you know, she gets into this world of like drugs and smuggling, all kinds of stuff. And it really unfolds in this very interesting way. It's not like high intensity, super dark, high action, like some of the other recommendations, but it's still something that I think you'll enjoy. Again, it's only one season. If you just want something a little bit, you know, more quick to watch, get into that one. Then there's Broadchurch. Let me tell you what I enjoy. A sleepy town murder mystery. Broadchurch is this small coastal town, and you know, everybody know everybody know everybody business, whoop-de-whoop-de-woo. So this show stars Olivia Colman, who you know from Harry Potter, sorry, got those mixed up, who you know from The Crown and from Fleabag, and David Tennant, who you know from Harry Potter. Again, it's a simple coastal town. It's very small, close-knit community. A kid gets murdered and all hell breaks loose. There are 3 seasons. I really enjoyed each of them. It is a police procedural. The way that it unfolds is heartbreaking. It's not super dark, but it is like that's how you feel watching it. Oh. So, next, Ripper Street. Let me see what else I love. You give me a period piece set in Victorian England, and I am tuned in, okay? This show stars one of my favorite actors of any identity, Matthew McFadden. Let me tell you something. You know him from Succession. Cannot wait for Succession to come back, just as an aside. And Pride and Prejudice. Just the way I want a man to come walking across the English moors in the morning dew to profess his love for me, but to also say, like, I respect your choices. Put it in my veins. This man is such a phenomenal actor. The way that he delivers these lines, there's something about his mouth. Just pay attention to it. Even in Pride and Prejudice, like, one of the characters comments on the way he moves his mouth. The way that he, it's like his diction or something. It's just so good. And the show is so well written that the fact that the storylines are good, the show is well written, and the actors give these just like damn near Oscar-worthy performances. Like, you are really pulled into these stories. It is a police procedural. It's called Ripper Street because he plays, why didn't I write down the name? Edmund Reed, Inspector Edmund Reed, and he has been tracking down Jack the Ripper. That's like his, white whale that he's been going after. Obviously, we all know in real life, no one ever found Jack the Ripper, but it's him. It's also Jerome Flynn, who played Bronn on Game of Thrones. Love him. He is such a lovable but also tragic character in this series. And just, I'm going to tell y'all now, this series ends on a heartbreaking note. I mean, I think I'm still mourning what happened, but it is worth it. Like I said, the criminals are really interesting. The storylines and the plots are really interesting. Of course, he's, once again, that standard, very troubled detective who they have this big case and it has ruined his personal life. He has a daughter who's gone missing. His wife is kind of like not all there, but he's not all there for her. Get into Ripper Street. I'm telling you, you will be absolutely blown away by the acting, by the way that things develop. I loved it. I cannot go back and watch it though because it ended too sad. But he has this motley crew of like people who kind of like help him. And again, it's one of those things where they toe the line between, I don't know whether or not I should still be rooting for you. Not to the extent of some of the other recommendations, but especially while we're looking at what it looks like for a police officer to be a police officer and that abuse of power, it does, especially right now, give you pause more than it may have done, before. Still, I very much enjoy it. Honestly, I would watch Matthew McFadden read a Cheesecake Factory menu. I just love the way he talks. I love the everything about the way his face, it's stunning to me. I could get into it. Peaky Blinders is one of my all-time favorite TV shows, like maybe top 5, maybe top 3. This show stars Cillian Murphy, whose face just, whew. I was telling a friend that I know that I still have personal work to do on myself because I'm too attracted to that damaged of a man. My God. Anyway, 5 seasons. It's available on Netflix. Again, it stars Cillian Murphy, who you know from the Batman Returns, the Dark Knight trilogy is it a trilogy of movies? Anyway, you've seen him in a lot of things. This is by far my favorite role from him. He looks so good as Tommy Shelby. Anyway, it also stars Helen McCrory, R.I.P., gone too soon. What an actor and what a character. She is my favorite character on this show. She plays Aunt Polly. I'm going to miss her so much, on this show, and just my heart goes out to her family. Jesus, that one really took me back. I hope her family is doing well. This show is set in Britain following the Great War, and it's about 1919. The economy is trash, which breeds these different levels of crime. And like I said, the main character is Tommy Shelby. He's like the leader of the gang called the Peaky Blinders. It's the Tommy Shelby family. What they're ultimately trying to do is just get their slice of what we call the American dream. They want their version of that. Again, it's a period piece set in Britain. Jesus, the storylines are so good. The performances are so good. But I'm going to tell you what else. It's the cinematography. I could watch an hour of them just walking in slow motion in those suits down that alleyway. I'd love it. I'd watch it on mute. It's just delightful. I guess it's how people used to like how people would just run down the beach on Baywatch. That's my version of that. It's just dudes walking down an alley in slow motion. Sparks are flying. Anyway, Tommy Shelby is up against these different political factions. He's up against rival gangs. He's sometimes up against his own family. And he's one of these people who is like the leader of the family, but he sometimes has to make these hard choices that the other family members don't really understand, but they also rely on him. It's really deep family conflict, and he is a very problematic person. He is a problematic brother. The way that he treats his brothers, it's incredibly abusive. But this show is so good. The costume design is so good. Keep an eye out for how Aunt Polly's wardrobe evolves with her coming into her own power as a woman, as an older woman. It's a thing to behold. I'm gonna tell you who else I'm like a whore for is Tom Hardy. What a gift. There are pleasant people to look at on this show. Let me just say that. It is the men on this show, baby, who, listen, get me my fainting couch and my smelling salts. Thing to behold. Brace yourself. Some of your faves will die. Just know that off rip. But Peaky Blinders is, they're coming out with the final season, I hope by the end of the year. Of course, the pandemic has knocked things off, but you definitely want to catch up. The most recent season is going to be triggering because they brought in a person who's like an actual historical figure, who was really closely related to Hitler and kind of tried to bring the Nazi, nationalist kind of ideas into Britain. It's a very fascinating story surrounding his wife as well. There's a documentary about these sisters, and I'm going to put a link to it just as an aside. It's this really interesting, fascinating documentary about these sisters who, one moved to America and became like a communist who worked with the civil rights movement, and this other one went to really leaned into the Nazi movement, and that one's actual, husband is depicted on this show. Again, it's very triggering language, especially because of what we just came out of with the previous administration, and hopefully what we're coming out of even more with this current, I hope that we're coming out of that even more with this current administration is what I mean to say. Again, this is one of my all-time favorite shows in life. I'm only 33, that could change, but this is in like my top 5. Love Peaky Blinders. The Fall. Again, don't watch this shit at night. Don't watch it by yourself. Make sure your window's locked. Make sure your refrigerator door is closed. It's that intense. This show is about a serial killer, but I'm going to tell you, it's problematic because the serial killer is Jamie Dornan, who we know from 50 Shades of Grey, which I have never watched, but I have seen that man's face, and it is a delight to behold, okay? It also stars one of my favorite actresses, Gillian Anderson. She plays Detective Stella Gibson. She's tracking the serial killer who's played by Jamie Dornan. It's a very, very dark cat and mouse thriller. What I really enjoy about Detective Stella Gibson is that they did not compromise on the femininity of her wardrobe at all. One of my favorite podcasts called Thirst Aid Kit, they describe it as blouse work. There is this just soft, you'll know it when you see it. Like, she wears heels. Whenever I see shows and they kind of want to give you the impression that like the woman is like a bad bitch, they'll have her in like a 2-inch heel. And I'm like, okay, I guess. She wears heels. And even she just has this like very elegant pajama set, and she's this very like independent kind, like empowered, woman. Of course, she has her own troubled past. They all do, these detectives. But I really loved how this show was done. Again, there is a Game of Thrones character. It's a deep cut Game of Thrones character. Like, if you know who that character is, you really watched Game of Thrones, and I'm quite obviously a Game of Thrones fan. So we don't talk about the last season. But I am a Game of Thrones fan. I think you'll enjoy this one, but like I said, it's violent, it's serial killer, it's all that jazz. Don't watch it alone. Don't watch it at night, unless you into that kind of thing. On a lighter note, I just want to give you guys some recommendations of some very hilarious British comedies. Again, I just like British TV. British comedies are really my jam as well, besides mysteries, period pieces, whoop-de-whoop-de-woo. The first one is Sex Education. Where was this show when I needed to know about sex education? The way that they explore sex and sexuality when you're coming of age, it's done so well. It's one of those things where it's like, should, young people watch this so that they can get like a more realistic understanding? Or is this too raunchy for younger kids? Basically, Gillian Anderson is also in this show. One of my favorite people who I love to look at their face. I just know I'm going to mess up his name. Nshuti. I'm going to mess it up. Y'all will see it. He's just this beautiful Black kid who plays a queer character, and I just adore him. I adore his performance. But basically, Gillian Anderson's character is a sex therapist, and her son is a high school student who, he's a little bit unknown, he's a little bit nerdy, but he ends up being a sex therapist within his school. And he does this for money. Hijinks ensue. It's very well done. It's one of the shows that I look forward to the most. Like, I wish that I had more self-control than to like not binge it, but it's very, very good. It's very, very funny. Of course, there are some very serious episodes when they get into talking about sexual assault and things like that, but I think that they delve into some of the nuances of the sexuality part of coming of age that we don't really get to explore. So I think it's really good. I've mentioned Fleabag several times. Fleabag has won like hella Emmy Awards, I think. It's on Amazon, and Sex Education's on Netflix. Fleabag is on Amazon. It's one of the Amazon Prime originals. How do you describe it? It's a very dark comedy. Again, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is just a genius. She's the writer and the main star of it, and she basically is just this woman who has a terrible family, but they all treat her like she's terrible. And you find yourself actually getting really frustrated and kind of wanting to fight if you're like me. It's hilarious. It's sad. It's eye-opening. There's a reason it won all those awards. It's one that I'm not upset that they, won as much as they won. Again, Olivia Colman is in it. No reason not to adore her. And just watch out for the hot priest chat, because anyway, Fleabag, like, she's a very troubled person, but it's like she's doing her best, but people kind of push her over the edge all the time. And you just find yourself being like, can y'all give this bitch a break? And no one really does. And she always ends up being painted as the bad person, so it's frustrating, but it's a really good show. Lastly, there's Lovesick. I hope that everyone who was ever involved in this show is doing well. I don't think that they're ever going to get another season. I can't remember if they have 3 or 4 seasons, but it's on Netflix. Lovesick is basically about this guy who really, really, really wants to be in love, and he dates a lot, but not very successfully, and he ends up contracting chlamydia and has to call every sexual partner that he's had to let them know to get tested. And the episodes are kind of set up with each girl, you know, going back, like these flashbacks to like how they started dating and, you know, what happened. It's really, really funny, and I think a really interesting exploration of what modern dating can look like from a certain vantage point. It's very sweet. You're gonna fall in love with all the characters, really. It's a very sweet show. Definitely it's one that I actually go back to quite often, just when I need something kind of lighthearted and not heavy, or just to be like that emotionally engaged. I really enjoy watching this one. I think if you watch Lovesick, it's one that you'll come back to over and over again. So those are some of my favorite British TV shows. I obviously have watched more. I might do a part 2. I don't know. Depends on how I feel. But I hope this helps you guys, especially since, you know, we're nearing, hopefully, the end of the pandemic. And if you still need things to watch, even, you know, aside from that, if you were just like me and enjoy TV and just want something good to watch, I hope this helped you. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, like this video, drop down in the comments. Let me know if you have any suggestions for me. I'm always looking for some new shit to watch, okay? I love TV. Also, if you want to help me to continue to create free content, become a patron of mine and pay me money. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye.